Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin for the win, and we're back for another edition of Diablo 3. Today on the channel, we are taking a look at the starter set for Season 26 for the Crusader, that being the Armor of Akkhan, which I'm going to tell you right off the bat, in order to get this to go very well for your seasonal journey, you're going to need to farm quite a bit to be able to make this exact build. However, if you follow my advice and follow the build the way it is, you will do significantly well. Okay, so here it is, Armor of Akkhan. Let's go over the skills first in it. 2-piece bonus, reduce the cost of all abilities by 50% while Akarat's champion is active. 4-piece bonus, reduce the cooldown of Akarat's champion by 50%. 6-piece bonus, while Akarat's champion is active, you deal 2,000% increased damage that take 50% less damage. So obviously you should probably run Captain Crimson with that, just based on what you see in the 2, the 4, and the 6-piece bonus. To further help with this build, we are going to be using certain particular items that are not necessarily part of the Akkhan set, but will help overall for what we're going for. That being, as you're going to see here, we are using some of the burden invoker pieces. We're also using Captain Crimson. First and foremost, let's probably go over Captain Crimson here, because you're going to want to use, wrong side. This is what you're going to want to pretty much run and abuse here. So Captain Crimson, 2-piece bonus, 6,000 life per second, reduces cooldown of all skills by 20%, reduces resource cost by 20%. 3-piece bonus, damage dealt is increased by your percentage of cooldown reduction. Damage taken is reduced by your percentage of cost reduction. So this plays in part to the 4- and 6-piece bonus of your Armor of Akkhan. So you should definitely run this. Also, to help with this build, we are using 2 pieces of the Invoker set, that being the Shackles and that being the Burden. So we could get the 2-piece bonus. Your Thorns damage now hits all enemies in a 15-yard radius around you. Each time you hit an enemy with punish, slash, or block an attack, Thorns is increased by 90% for 2 seconds. This effect stacks up to 10 times. So we want to run this for this particular build, so make sure you do that. We're going to have to run the Talisman of Akkhan here if we want to use Captain Crimson. We're also going to be using the Steed set here, so Norville set. So 2-piece, increase the duration of Steed charge by 2 seconds. In addition, killing an enemy reduces the cooldown of Steed charge by 1 second. Gain 400% increased damage while using Steed charge, and for 5 seconds after it ends. This kind of really makes and breaks this particular set. So we want the shield and the flail for this particular build. For the ring, restraint and focus, definitely use that. And obviously for the necklace, you don't have a slot. So we're going to switch Sweeping Wind, which I usually use for this build, because we want to get the full part of Invoker. So we're going to use, not Punish, we're going to use Slash. And I'm just going to go with an easy one here. So let's use Slash for the critical hit. We're going to use Crush in this particular situation, but you could use basically whichever of these runes that you want. It's not really going to help too much. We're just trying to proc, or actually let's use Carve. That'd be better. So we also want to run Bombardment, Barrels of Spikes, Iron Skin, Real Effective Skin, because this is a Thorns build. Akarat's champion, Prophet is the way to go. Condemn, Reciprocate, or you could use Vacuum, either or. I prefer that one. Steed Charge, Spiked Barding, because this is a Thorn build. For the passives, Heavenly Strength, Iron Maiden, Indestructible, and Frenzy. In the Kanai's Cube, you must run this for this to work right. The Mortal Drama, Belt of the Trove, and Ring of Grandeur. This is what Paragon's going to look like, but you're not going to have access to that. Broken Crown, Flavor of Time, Nemesis Bracers, pretty much what you want to run for your follower. Every innate ability is nice to have, but they're not like make or break. Those 3 are kind of really the most important ones. For the purpose of this showcase, I'm going to do a Greater of 60, a Greater of 70, and a Greater of 80. This is a bombardment build that abuses Thorn, so there's a lot that we're going to have to cover and unpack for you. When you get the Armor of Akkhan in the beginning of your seasonal journey, you're not going to have access to everything, so you're going to have to farm for the Captain Crimson and the Invoker set, but we will talk about that after I talk about how you're going to optimize this for your Season 26 journey. Alright, so first thing that you want to do is activate your Akarat's champion. Then from there, what you really should do is when you have a second, activate your Reflective Skin. Then, every once in a while, you are going to attack with your primary resource generator, that being Slash, which is going to proc the 2-piece bonus of Burden and Invoker. Because we are using the Mortal Drama, as well as the Belt of the Trove, your bombardments are naturally going to drop every couple of seconds. From there, what you do is you Steed Charge around to get yourself mobility. And remember, when you come out of Steed Charge, you're doing a 400% increased damage. So since the bombardments are dropping naturally anyway, you're pretty much going to implode things with relative ease, just based on the way that this particular armor is set up. So it's really a matter of just keeping an eye on your Akarat's champion, your Reflective Skin. Whenever they are no longer on cooldown, you recast them, Save your actual bombardment for the Rift Guardian, or if you're running into a really tanky set of mobs that you feel is going to potentially kill you. But always keep an eye on resetting your Akarat champion and Reflective Skin. As you see, I haven't had necessarily a moment to activate my Iron Skin again, so I'm waiting a couple seconds until things kind of lighten up, because if not, you will take an unnecessary death. So, for this particular armor, my recommendations in terms of optimization, first and foremost, since this is a Captain Crimson build, you want to have cooldown reduction 8.0% at least wherever possible. Minimum 8.0% on any of your gear. On top of that, you want to have resource cost reduction at 8.0% wherever possible. Those two stats will help tremendously and go a very long way. Since this is a build that relies on thorns, you need to maximize your thorn damage wherever possible. So you want the max possible roll of thorns wherever and everywhere you can get it on your armor. This might take a while because you're going to have to play around with armors. You're going to have to re-roll for things just to get exactly what you need to make this more effective. But you need thorns maxed out on your stats for this to do the maximum amount of potential damage. From there, if you still have space left over, on your helm, I would recommend crit hit chance 6.0%. On your gloves, I would recommend these three stats. Crit hit chance 6.0%, crit hit damage 50%, which is max damage you could get for that. And then, last but not least, attack speed at 8.0%. For the Rift Guard, all you want to do is drop one bombardment. That's why you save your bombardment, unless the bombardment drops naturally. And you pretty much will implode it. Also, keep in mind that with the slash, you're getting an increased amount of stacks, 10 stacks if you maintain it. So, a lot of things going on in this armor, but if you follow basically the damage rotations that you've seen, you should do generally well with this armor. So, in terms of further optimization from there, anywhere that you can get bombardment at 15%, definitely do so. Any other skill is kind of secondary. Like, you could buff up slash, but it's not going to help tremendously. Steed charge is probably something you would want to buff to 15%. Probably because it could help a little bit and go a long way, but I would say you focus mainly on maxing out your bombardment at 15%. Level 60 Grey Rift 60 tournament, 13, 2 minutes and 22 second clear time. And this is not even fully optimized with full augmentations, guys. Alright, Grey Rift 70, same strategy as before. Make sure you cast your Akarat's champion. Then when you have a second at the beginning of the rift, cast your Iron Skin. Every so often, if you feel like you're going to take a medium amount of damage, make sure that you are using your Reciprocate to deal damage back to your enemies, because there are situations when you're attacking with Slash where you're taking some hits, so it's good to be able to dish it back. You could also use the Vacuum. My problem with Vacuum is the fact that sometimes you'll pull in enemies that can one-shot you, particularly on the higher greater, which is why I don't like it from a personal preference standpoint. However, you can do as you please with the particular build and play around with it. It has leeway for experimentation. In terms of legendary gems, what should you be using? Well, the most important gem, keep in mind, the most important gem is Boreski's Chip. You need Boreski's Chip, and you want to max out the stats on that Boreski's Chip as fast as possible. If you do not max out Boreski's Chip, you will not do a tremendous amount of increased damage, and it will be the difference as to whether you can clear 20 extra greater rifts, non-optimized, or if you can basically clear out, you know what, those 20 extra greater rifts. So definitely Boreski's Chip is the first thing that you should be maximizing, optimizing in this. The second thing that I would recommend is, because we are using a Captain Crimson set, you could go Goaka Swiftness, but I don't recommend it. I would recommend Bane of the Stricken because of how Bombardments drop multiple times, and then I would recommend Bane of the Trap. However, if you don't want to go Bane of the Trap, which is confusing because it is the best gem that's available in Diablo III, like, there's no reason not to run it. I would recommend, if you're swapping out the Bane of the Trap, you go Goaka Swiftness, but if you have that much cooldown reduction anyway on the armor, following my advice, you really don't need the Goaka Swiftness, and the area legendary gems that you're using will give you more long-term value as you go higher up in the greater rift. So that's why I would recommend that you follow my sage-like advice on that. I've been playing Diablo III for about 12 years. I'm playing on the Nintendo Switch platform concurrently of it, so I've played on multiple different platforms in the past. It's just as simple of I prefer to play on controller. It's a little bit more comfortable because I'm mostly a console player. However, I moved over to PC. As you see, I do still play Diablo II Resurrected on controller PC, so there's that as well. So that's definitely what you want to go in terms of optimization. Obviously, further optimization that you're going to need to do for this particular build is on all pieces of your gear, you want Ancient Legendary or Primal Ancient Legendary value. Then from there, you want to put it in a nice cube and augment it with legendary gems at least level 80 to see a decent amount of performance. Preferably, the higher you go, the better results. So, in theory, you would probably want to do gems that are level 100 to 120. But again, it depends on how hard you're having a time of trying to claw up on the greater rifts. So if you see that you're struggling quite a lot in your seasonal journey, it's okay to augment an armor with a level 50 gem, or a level 60, or level 70. You can always go back and overwrite the legendary gem status and whatever you augmented in the Kanai's Cube. The only difference is obviously you're going to need another legendary gem with a higher value, and you're going to have to waste a couple of resources, but you can overwrite an augmentation. That's a common thing that's often overlooked by a lot of players, and then I think they've messed up on the armor and have to get another piece. No, you can overwrite, fortunately, a augmentation. So definitely do not hesitate if you feel like you're struggling really in your seasonal journey, and maybe you just need to level up a gem to 50 to be able to get just a little bit into that greater of 70, because I know it can be kind of difficult without true full optimization. And don't worry, remember, this is a marathon. It's not a race. You have all season to basically get to your end destination. Now, I'm going to talk about, for those newer players, what exactly seasonal journey is in a second. Let's just take care of the Rift Garden here. So make sure you have your Akarat champion active, make sure your Iron Skin, make sure you slash, and then you use your Bombardment. You just save that Bombardment you don't actually drop that you actually cast. So for that particular situation, you want to do it definitely on the more bulky enemies. So I recommend leveling up the gems. I'm not being powerful. This is just stuff that I'm leveling up because I'm always constantly augmenting for various different armors. Let's go back to base. Let's look at the clear time so I can show you what the clear time is. Then we'll talk about what you should be striving for and how you want to effectively farm to get this build the way you need it. Okay, so greater of 70 torment, 15 difficulty, 3 minutes and 41 second clear time. I'll show you greater of 80 right now. Greater of 80, you have to be a bit more cautious with playstyle. Keep in mind. Alright, so this is greater of 80, same strategy as before. Akarat's champion, cast your Iron Skin, use your slash to proc the 2-piece bonus of the Invoker set. Use your reciprocate a lot more while you're running through the enemies here, because remember, they take more damage and last a little longer, and they can dish out more damage, so you want to fire back that thorn here. So now, if you're new to Diablo 3, you probably never played a seasonal journey, so you're probably wondering exactly what you should be doing with your seasonal journey. Okay, well, here's what happened. In order to get your starter set, you need to complete your Chapter 2, 3, and 4 seasonal journey. Upon completion of a Chapter 2 seasonal journey, you get 2 pieces of your Hatred's Gift. On completion of Chapter 3 of your seasonal journey, you get another 2 pieces of your Hatred's Gift. On completion of Chapter 4, you'll get the final 2 pieces of your Hatred's Gift. You are always guaranteed a full set of your starter set for your class. This particular set, it's the Armor of Akkhan, which is the basic stuff for this particular build. The basic stuff. So you will get a full set of that. You are not guaranteed Ancient Legendary, and a Primal Ancient Legendary cannot drop from your Hadrid's Gift Cachet unless you have cleared a Greater Rift 70, which you're not going to be able to do before you get to Season 4 journey and complete it. So don't even think about it. Don't even strive for that. It's not mathematically possible, and you'd be wasting a lot of time. So you are guaranteed a full set. You're not guaranteed Ancient Legendary, so you're going to have to kind of farm a little bit more for it. From there, you need to farm for herb pieces. You're going to need 2 pieces of the Invoker, as you saw with this build. You're going to need Captain Crimson for this build. You're going to need the weapon set for this build. What is the best way to go about these things? Okay, well, for starters, for the Captain Crimson set, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do a whole bunch of Nephilim Rift runs. You're going to keep running through Nephilim Rifts, and eventually you are going to run into goblins, and you're going to get bounty cachets, and when you open them, they have a very high chance that you're going to get the Captain Crimson plans to drop for your particular thing that you need. So you'll get the plans dropped that way. So just do a whole bunch of Nephilim Rifts anyway. You're going to need the extra materials anyway to put things in the Kanai's Cube. You're also going to need the extra blood shards for rolling for things of the sort, so I definitely recommend that. The second thing that you should definitely do is, like, for the specific gear that you need. Since, like, the Invoker set and the Steed set, my recommendation is that you should pick a Greater Rift that you feel very comfortable running and that you can run 2 to 3 minute clear times in. And I would recommend that you basically just do 3 to 4 hour Greater Rift run, just constantly doing 1 2 to 3 minute runs, just doing Greater Rift after Greater Rift after Greater Rift after Greater Rift. The higher the Greater Rift, the better the chance of the loot drop being what you're going to desire. So if you could do a Greater Rift 60, that's probably your best middle ground. If you could do a Greater Rift 70, even better. But basically do a whole bunch of Greater Rift runs. Eventually, you're going to see the 2 pieces of the Invoker set that you need drop. Eventually, you are going to see the weapon and the shield that you need to drop. If you're struggling quite a bit trying to get the legendary pieces of the weapon set to drop, there is an alternate method for farming. However, it costs a lot of resources. You could buy a whole bunch of rare shields and a whole bunch of rare flails from the merchant, and you could use the Kanai's Cube recipe to upgrade a rare to a legendary. It costs 50 death breaths this way, but if you were already doing Nephilim Rift runs, you probably will be able to get quite a lot of the resources you need anyway, particularly if you use like the Sage set, so it gives you extra death breaths and everything of the sort. So you could use that method. If you do the method with the Greater Rift runs, where you're just running it 3 to 4 minute clear times and doing it for 3 to 4 hours, the Steed set drops pretty high. Norville set, which is what I'm talking about, that drop has a high potential of dropping quite a bit, quite frequently. If you're at a high enough difficulty, Torment 15 difficulty, it tends to drop in a 3 to 4 hour run pretty quickly. But remember, you want to do whatever you could do as fast as possible so you can get more runs out of the way. So that set tends to drop frequently. Invoker set tends to drop somewhat frequently as well. That is the method I would recommend. Just keep farming that way to get it. But if you're struggling with a particular piece of the armor, or a particular piece of the gear, best is to just use buy a whole bunch of rares and then upgrade them with the Kanai's Cube, because you'll get the desired result. There's not that many rolls for a flail or a shield for the Crusader. Alright, so as you saw there, Akarat's champion, Iron Skin, we fired off a couple slashes and then drop a bombardment, and it will pretty much pop the Rift Guardian. Keep in mind that this armor is a bit of a glass cannon, so as you can deal a lot of damage. However, you stay still too long or you run into AoE effects because you got too aggro or aggressive, you will pay for it. So you have to be very cautious of AoE effects and be mindful of your surroundings, because if you get a little too aggressive, you will pay for it and you'll lose your 4-piece chance bonus. That's just the thing. Don't get discouraged if you die once or twice during a run with this particular set. It's not really that big of a deal. It's just about clearing and getting stronger and building yourself up. So remember, death is not really a big deal when it comes to Diablo 3. Maybe for a little bit for leaderboard placement, but you should be okay. Alright, so Greater Rift 80, 4 minutes and 42 second clear time. Obviously, we took a death. If not, it'd probably be 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Just for every 10 Greater Rifts, add about 20 to 30 seconds. And with full optimization, you probably should be able to clear a Greater Rift 130 or 135 solo. In a group of 4 that know what you're doing, you should be able to go 150 even with this. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's Diablo 3 video. As always, a like on this video is greatly appreciated. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, definitely do so, as it helps the channel grow. And I'll see you next time.